welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we're going to be talking about possibly 4 tropical systems in the East Pacific Ocean, as well as continuing coverage on Dolly, our excessive rainfall, and our thunderstorms. Now let's go in depth. But before we do, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another in-depth weather video. Also, if you have any comments, questions, anything, comment it in the comments section down below. Now, here I am, National Weather Service page. We have excessive heat. Oh, that is the heat advisory. That's right. Heat advisories in California and Oregon still. We also have severe thunderstorm watches and warnings in New Mexico and Texas. Flash flood watches in East Texas. And some scattered air quality alerts, some special weather statements, some lakeshore flood advisories, but the main things is the heat, the severe thunderstorms, and the flooding. Now let's go to the National Hurricane Center, where we are currently watching Dolly. Dolly is a tropical storm, and here is the warning cone. So Dolly will most likely be downgraded to a tropical depression and then make its way up toward Newfoundland, Canada, and then dissipate. But that really isn't the big news story right now. The big news story is actually how active the East Pacific is. This is just the 2-day outlook. 3 disturbances. Then the 5-day outlook, we have 4 disturbances, 2 of which have a higher than 60% chance of developing, 1 of which has a 40% chance, and another with 30. So we have a 70, an 80, a 40, and a 30. I'm not going to read all this. Here it is. You can pause the video here, read the outlook. There's just so many disturbances here. I'm just going to show it for a few seconds, and I'll let you pause the video, read them, get more information. This is also on the National Weather Service page, and I'll show you how to navigate that in a second. Alright, so if you come to the National Weather Service page, you just scroll down and click on Hurricanes. It'll bring you to the Atlantic view. You just click on Eastern Pacific, 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, and scroll down. Now let me come back here to the warnings. Now let's go to the GFS model, where first we're starting with the Atlantic. As you can see, Dolly dissipates. Now we're going to go to the East Pacific, where you can see that first system, number 1, forms and starts to go a little bit further northward, and then kind of levels out and dissipates. Then we have our second system right over here that comes straight north. Then another system that kind of stays on this line here, then eventually starts to pull northward. And then finally a system that darts straight up toward Mexico and possibly making landfall in Mexico. And Mexico, this area of Mexico actually just had a pretty decent earthquake. I think it was, I saw at least a 4.0 magnitude, so definitely higher than that. Now let's go to our excessive rainfall outlook. We do have some marginal slight risks. Marginal risks in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, and slight risk in southwestern Louisiana and southeastern Texas. Now let's move on to the thunderstorm outlook. Here is the thunderstorm outlook, where we have day 2, which is technically today. We have marginal risks in the southeast, as well as multiple spots in the Midwest and in the Rockies. So let's just name some of the cities. Wilmington, Columbia, Charleston, Savannah, Tallahassee, think that's Dothan. If I get it wrong, comment. Columbus, Birmingham, Atlanta, Jackson, Mobile, New Orleans, Alexandria, Houston. Now up here, Wichita, Colby, McCook. Over here, there isn't actually any cities in here. Then up here we have Great Falls, Missoula, and Butte. Really having trouble with this one right here where my cursor is. Ogden, Dothan. I don't know, it's really hard to read the text here. Everywhere else, you have that general thunderstorm. That's basically, thunderstorms can form, but it is very unlikely for them to have any severe characteristics. Now let me quickly go through this. 2% chance of tornadoes in that southern region, closely in line with our slight rainfall risk. Wind in every spot here, 5%, and hail in just the central plains regions, 5%. Now let's move on to the NAM 3-kilometer model, where we can look at these thunderstorms. So right now it's looking like you have this mesoscale convective cyclone and the vortex that will eventually be spurring up more thunderstorms as it moves across Texas and Louisiana, and that's where you get that thunderstorm risk. Next up, you have just that continuation of that and the outflow of the Gulf moisture just producing that southeastern threat. Then you have the continuation of those thunderstorms just popping up here in the Midwest, as well as the monsoon in the southwest, which is very timely for this time of year, as well as in the northwest. So just very spotty thunderstorms. They pop up quick, they dump some rain, strong winds, hail, and then they move out of there. The most significant thunderstorm threat is that mesoscale convective vortex, and that is going to be impacting the south. Now let's move on to thermodynamics, where we do have some significant heating today. So hundreds in the southwest in California and in the desert of Arizona. That kind of correlates almost exactly to our heat warning threats. Now let's move into the northwest, where you're going to be getting 50s to 70s on the coastline, 80s and 90s inland, and it all depends on your elevation as well. In the Rockies, 90s is the most common occurrence here, but you can get 80s to even 60s depending on your elevation. The Central Plains is in the 70s and 80s depending on thunderstorms, because I'm looking at like midday, so this isn't technically your high temperatures, but it's the most common high temperature time. So if there's thunderstorms moving through or have moved through, you will have cooler air, like here in Louisiana. But you'll basically see 70s, 80s in spots in this little pocket here, west of the Appalachians and east of what we consider the Tornado Alley, which is right over here. Now, on the East Coast, you're going to be seeing a range of different temperatures from 60s in Maine all the way down to 90s in Florida, all depending on where you are. I mean, the Northeast is going to be seeing the 60s to 80s, the Southeast is going to be seeing those 80s and 90s, even possibly into the hundreds. Possibly down here in southern Florida, you could be seeing into the hundreds. Now, let's move on to the relative humidity, our final stop today, which we're going to be on the GFS. So, relative humidity, still ongoing when we get to 0. So, relative humidity is going to be very high in the northeast and the south, as well as the areas that are going to be in that thunderstorm threat. And that is all I have for today. Very active pattern in the Pacific that can generate multiple tropical storms, some excessive rainfall and thunderstorms, and then temperatures and humidity. I hope you guys all have a great Wednesday.